If you had asked me a month ago to describe my life, I would have used one word: blessed. I had a loving husband of 12 years, Mark, 2 beautiful children, and a best friend, Sophie, who was more like a sister. The 3 of us were a team. Sophie had been my rock for 20 years. She was the honorary aunt to my kids, the keeper of my secrets, the other half of my soul. She was at our dinner table 3 nights a week. Mark adored her, always calling her the sister he never had. Our little world was a fortress of love and trust, or so I believed. The first crack in the foundation was almost unnoticeable. It started with their schedules. Mark, a partner at a law firm, began working late more frequently, citing a huge case that demanded his full attention. Around the same time, Sophie, a graphic designer, became incredibly busy with a demanding freelance client, often cancelling our weekly girls' nights with hurried, vague texts. I felt a pang of loneliness, but I was proud of them both, watching them succeed in their careers. Then came the secrecy. Mark, who used to leave his phone lying around for hours, now kept it glued to his side, screen down. Once, a message came in while he was in the shower, and he nearly broke his neck running to grab the phone before I could see it. "Just a work notification," he'd said, his smile a little too tight. Sophie, who used to tell me every detail of her dating life, suddenly had nothing to share. "Oh, you know, same old boring stuff," she'd say, quickly changing the subject. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure. These were the 2 people I trusted most in the world. My imagination was just running wild. The moment the paranoia turned into a cold, sickening certainty happened on a Thursday night. Mark was supposedly buried in depositions at the office. Sophie was on a deadline for her mysterious client. I had taken the kids to a late movie. Driving home, I took a detour to avoid some traffic and passed by the Gilded Vine, one of the most romantic and expensive restaurants in the city. And there, parked right out front, was Mark's unmistakable black BMW. My heart stopped. What was he doing here? Maybe a client dinner? I pulled into a spot across the street, my hands shaking, telling myself there was a perfectly logical explanation. I waited. 20 minutes later, the restaurant doors opened, and out walked Mark. He was laughing, his head tilted towards his dinner companion. It was Sophie. She was glowing, wearing a new dress I'd never seen. As they waited for the valet, he gently placed his hand on the small of her back, a gesture so intimate, so possessive, it stole the air from my lungs. It was not the touch of a friend, it was the touch of a lover. I ducked down in my seat, my body trembling with a cold I'd never felt before. I watched them get into his car and drive away, disappearing into the night that was supposed to be filled with work and deadlines. I sat there in the darkness for a long time, the perfect fortress of my life crumbling to dust around me. They hadn't just lied to me. They had built a whole other world right under my nose. A world I was never meant to see. Plan wasn't born from a desire for dramatic screaming matches. I wanted something quiet, clinical, and devastating. I wanted them to be exposed, not by my accusations, but by their own words, their own actions. 2 weeks later, I planned a special anniversary dinner at our home. I told Mark it was to celebrate 12 years of marriage. He was visibly relieved, thinking I suspected nothing. Then I told him I had a surprise. I had also invited Sophie to thank her for being such a wonderful, a supportive friend to us both through his stressful work project. They couldn't refuse without revealing that they had something to hide. That night, I was the perfect hostess. I cooked their favorite meal. I poured expensive wine. I smiled and reminisced about old memories, watching the guilt and confusion flicker in their eyes. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. After dinner, I smiled sweetly and said, "I've prepared a little slideshow, a walk down memory lane." I connected my laptop to the large television in our living room. The slideshow began innocently enough. Photos of Mark and me on our wedding day, pictures of us with our newborn children, snapshots of the 3 of us laughing on vacations over the years. Mark and Sophie began to relax, a look of relieved confusion on their faces. And then, the pictures changed. The next slide was a high-resolution screenshot of a hotel receipt from a business trip Mark had taken. The slide after that was a picture of the necklace he'd bought Sophie. And then came the texts. One by one, I projected the most sickening messages from the burner phone onto the 60-inch screen. Their secret nicknames, their complaints about me. And finally, the picture of my daughter's drawing, with Sophie's cruel caption underneath. She loves her Auntie Soph more, I think. The silence was absolute. Their faces were masks of pure horror. They were trapped, exposed by their own words in the heart of the home they had betrayed. I let the final damning message linger on the screen for a long moment. Then, I turned off the television, stood up, and looked at them, my voice completely calm. The appetizers we had tonight were from our first date, I said quietly. The main course was the same meal we served at our wedding. And this was our divorce. There was nothing left to say. Their lies had been laid bare. I told them both to get their things and get out of my house. The year that followed was hard, but it was honest. The divorce was messy, but I had all the proof I needed. I heard through the grapevine that Mark and Sophie tried to make a go of it, but their relationship, built on a foundation of betrayal and deceit, imploded in less than 6 months. They couldn't trust each other. I, on the other hand, was learning to trust myself again. I focused on my children, on my own healing. I had lost my husband and my best friend, but I had also shed 2 massive lies that had been unknowingly suffocating me. And as I stood in my quiet, peaceful home, finally free, I realized that some fortresses are meant to fall, so that you can build something stronger and truer in their place.